Right, let's have a look at some writing tips. Alright, so this is for term tasks, but also for your paper 3 writing. So let's start with writing an interview. An interview is a more formal piece of writing rather than you just chatting with your friend. So if you're writing a dialogue, you're talking to a friend, but with an interview, you're asking someone questions, and it's slightly more formal. So remember, you are speaking to somebody with a personality. You are not a robot. They are not a robot, unless you're interviewing a robot, which I doubt. Think about how people talk on TV and on the radio. If you are standing in front of a celebrity, you're not just going to list a couple of questions and they're going to say, yes, no. Actually talk to a person. Are they making jokes all the time? Are they talking about personal things? Think about the personality of this person and what they can tell you. Obviously, when you're sitting in an exam situation, you don't have all the information about the specific actor or someone you're interviewing, but in a term task you do, so go do some research. You can also go look at interviews with the celebrity that you're doing and get some inspiration from there. Go have a look at a couple of talk shows on TV and or listen to talk shows on the radio, just so that you can get an idea of what the mood is and what type of language they use. Alright, so I said you are talking to a person, so don't just list questions. Rather do less questions and more detail and more conversation surrounding the question. Okay, so here's an example. Do not do this. Okay, so Jack says, how many movies have you played in? Jill says 15. Jack says, which one was your favorite? Jill says, The Hill. Then Jack says, what? That's so boring. That's just listing a question and listing answers. You are having a conversation, so rather say something like this. Jack, you have been an actor since you were a child. So we're making a statement, and then we're asking a question about the statement. How many movies have you been in? And then Jill says, now she's commenting on the being an actor since a child, and she's answering a question. Yes, I've been acting since I was 10 years old. And now she's giving you, how does she feel about this? I can't believe it's been so long. Time flies. And now she answers the question. I've been in about 15 movies. Jack is not just following up with the next question. He's elaborating on her answer. So he says, wow, how many years has that been? Never mind, let's not discuss age. 15 movies sure is a lot. But which was your favorite? Now, how do you feel if someone asks you what's your favorite movie? You go, ooh, I don't know. So she does too. Oh, that's an impossible question. I've had so many great experiences. I think I will have to say The Hill. Now tell me, why is she saying that? The cast worked so great together and we had a lot of fun. It was hard for me to keep a straight face when Peter was chasing me with a knife. He played the big bad, but he was so funny, I just wanted to laugh at him. So now we've got a little personal insert about this movie. Why did she say this was her favorite? Alright, it will also help you rack up some word count if you're one of those people who never know what to say. Alright, then let's have a look at a review. Okay, so with book reviews, they sometimes give you specific questions that you must answer, but not always. But what you need to do is don't just give me one word or two words or one tiny little sentence or a phrase to answer the question. Answer in detail. So if they ask you who is the character, don't say Jack. Who is Jack? Say, Jack is the main character. He is a 15-year-old boy who enjoys soccer. Give me more information. Elaborate. Okay, if they don't give you questions and you have to come up with your own thing, this can be for a restaurant or a tourist attraction, a book or a movie, whatever. So first I need a description. Where is this place? So, where is it? What is it like? What happened? So let's say we take a book, then we give a short outline of the plot. You don't write 2 paragraphs about what the movie was about. You just give a short description. So you can say the movie was about 2 kids going on a journey to find their parents. Okay, why? Think of question words. Why? Their parents went missing when they were young. Okay, what do they discover on this journey? They discover this and become really close. What is the theme of the movie? I can say, the movie teaches you about family relationships and love. Okay, now that is what you told me about it. That was a short description. Now I want to know, is it good? Is it bad? And why? So you can say, I really enjoyed this movie because blah, 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 blah. Or you can say, I didn't like this movie in particular, but my children loved it. Or as a woman, I didn't enjoy this movie because it is more suited for guys. So tell me why and give me information. If you're doing a restaurant, you can also you can describe the food, for example. You can say, where is the restaurant? What is the mood of the restaurant? Do they have good waiters? Is it a pizza place? Is it a pasta place? Has it got an Italian vibe? Tell me about this restaurant. And then how was the food? How was the service? How was the prices? Think about all of those things and discuss why. With a movie, you can even say, I would have enjoyed the movie so much more if it wasn't for 2 people chewing popcorn behind me and throwing it to the front. The movie was great, but unfortunately the experience of going to Cresta was not. Right, then if you didn't like something, don't be angry or spiteful. Don't say, they suck and they're useless and I hate them and I'll never go back. Say you didn't like it and tell me why. And then rather use humor than anger. So instead of saying, the food was disgusting, say something like, the food was even worse than my grandmother's, and you should have tasted that. Or the food was worse than my aunt's, and she was known for her horrible cooking. Or you can say something like, the food was so great it reminded me of home. Think about metaphors, similes, your parts of speech, your figures of speech is not just for writing a description. It's not just for poetry. Use it in your writing as well. Okay, then conclusion. You must have an introduction, must have a conclusion. So your conclusion can be something like, this movie or this book will teach young children about the values of family and it is a must-see. Or something like, don't waste your 50 Rand, the popcorn was better than the movie. Something like that. All right. And remember, not everything is only bad. Maybe the food was bad, but the service is good. Or the food was bad, but the price was good. Or the toilets were clean. Whatever. Think about something good and something bad. Because not everything is just all bad. And remember, it's got to do with your personal. So say, I didn't like it, but my friends did. I didn't like going to Choo Choo Junction. It was incredibly expensive and their portions were tiny. But it is such a popular restaurant that maybe I just missed the vibe or something like that. All right, now let's have a look at letters. Okay, so letters, you should know the format by now. We've discussed it before. So it's very important to go over the format of the letters. It is very important. You're getting marks for having your format. Okay, so we need an introduction, as always. Don't say hi, how are you? It's a letter, not a conversation. Phone call, meeting someone in the street, hi, how are you? Perfectly cool. But if you're writing a letter, not so much. Rather say something like, I have missed you since I saw you last Christmas. Be specific. Don't just say, when I saw you last year. Say last Christmas, last July, on my last holiday. If you're writing to your grandmother, ask, how is your grandfather doing? If you're sending a letter to your cousin or your friend, say, I hope you and your parents are having a lovely what. Okay. Now you have to say, why are you writing this letter? Let me tell you about my year. So you're saying, I hope you had a good year. Let me tell you about mine. So I need to know, why are you writing this letter? Are you telling them something? Are you asking them something? Are you inviting them to something? Why are you writing this letter? So think about who you are talking to and why you are talking to them. Okay. Then in the body of your letter, you basically elaborate on the topic. So in your introduction, your conclusion, the topic's not that relevant. And if you're writing in your second language, I'm specifically saying this for Afrikaans second language kids, go practice an introduction that you can use for any letter. If you pick an introduction, I have missed you since I saw you last December. I hope you had a good year. Take that, and no matter what letter you write to who, learn that sentence off by heart, learn the spelling and the grammar, and just copy it out as the first line to your every single letter. And then you go into your topic. Same with the conclusion. Writing a conclusion, you can practice the same line for anybody that you're writing to. So you can say, I can't wait to see you again. If you invited them for something, say, I really hope your mom allows you to come. It would be great seeing you. You can elaborate and say, it would be great seeing you next December. And then you can also say, send my love to your family. So you can use something like that and be specific. If you're talking about to your grandmother, say, send my love to granddad. Send my love to Uncle Jane, whoever. All right. So something personal as well. Now, when you're writing letters, do not under any circumstances write a formal letter unless you have no choice at all. But formal letters are difficult. They have very specific formats and very specific language usage. Stick to informal. All right, now, and go practice this. Before your exam, don't go, it's a writing exam, I don't need to study. Practice your format. Go write a couple of random letters. Pick yourself a random topic. What have you done during this corona lockdown? Write to someone about it. Get some experience in writing things. You don't need someone to give you a topic. Tell someone something random about what you've done. Tell someone about your holiday. It doesn't matter if it's the silliest topic in the world, movie that you've seen, book you've read, whatever. As long as you practice writing specifically for format, introduction and conclusion, because those you can plan beforehand. Specifically in your second language, you Afrikaans people who hate the Afrikaans things, go plan it. Go learn vocabulary for an introduction and a conclusion. Send it to your teacher and ask them to have a look at it so that you know it's perfect and you can learn that two perfect sentences off by heart. Right, essays. Let's have a look at the essays. So again, I'm going to say don't write formal, stick to descriptive or narrative. It's far easier. And stick to vocabulary that you know. Rather try to be more descriptive and better with your sentence structure than with your vocab. It doesn't help you use fancy words if you don't know how to use them. Then rather stick with simple vocabulary but interesting sentences. So tell me a story. Even a descriptive essay has a story in it. Who, where, when, why. Think about all your question words. Okay, now we need detail. So whether it's narrative or descriptive, you need, even a descriptive has narrative elements, and in a narrative you still need description. So describe the story as you are telling the story. So look at this example. Jack has brown hair. He likes soccer. That's a grade 4 sentence. You're not in grade 4. Rather say something like this. Jack's short brown hair falls over his forehead as he leans over to kick the soccer ball. So now I know he's got short brown hair and I know he likes soccer. Or he plays soccer. So I get the same information, but in a better sentence. And then climax. Think about your climax. What is going to happen? I don't want something like, this happened, then that happened, then this happened, the end. That is super boring. Something must happen. You start and you build up towards a climax. When you're planning a story, start with your climax. Start with thinking, what is going to happen that's big and awesome and exaggerated? Have fun with something. Go all out, totally overboard. If it's something good that happens, it's the best thing ever. If it's something bad that happens, it's the worst thing ever. Okay, so we want your character to be detailed as well. So rather focus on one character that has detail rather than many characters with no detail. So, for example, if we go back to Jack, we can use this. His hair falls over his forehead. We can keep using that. Let's say Jack has a habit. He's got this hair that's always in his face, and his habit is always touching his hair, putting it behind his ear. So use it. Every now and then, like 2 or 3 times in your story, bring that in and says, Jack takes his hair out of his eyes. Or, something like that. Use it. Keep using the same detail. Because it gives the idea that your character is fully developed. They've got habits. They've got a backstory. Throw in something random. Maybe they chew their nails. Make them chew their nails every now and then. Make their mom tell them to stop chewing their nails every now and then. Think about a habit you've got. Add that in. Let's say you've got a loathsome character. Make them scratch their nose. Make them as gross as possible. If you've got a character that nobody likes, make them the super grossest person ever. and have them scratching their nose all the time. And then the other thing here is using figures of speech. Okay, like I said, it is not just for poetry. Practice some figures of speech. You can plan these beforehand as well. Take a piece of paper, make 2 columns, say, good things happen. And make me a couple of positive figures of speech. Or describe a sunset in any single story you've got. There's a sun. Describe it for me. Go practice describing the sun in a good way and in a bad way. So if you've got a positive story, you can say, the happy sun smiles. If you've got a negative story, like it's creepy, it's eerie, or it's sad, or something like that. Let's say, bad sun. You can say, the angry sun burns my skin. You can say, let's make a sad sun. We can say, the tragic sun. No, let's say the crying sun hides behind a cloud. Okay, every single story has a sun in it, or a moon if it's at night. Use things. Every person has hair. Most people have hair. So go make up some figures of speech to describe simple things that everybody and every story has. Then when you're sitting there writing your story in your exam, you don't need to go make up metaphors and personification and similes. You already have them. So planning, studying for your essay question is making up figures of speech and planning figures of speech and planning stories. You can write planning climaxes, because it doesn't matter what the topic is. Put the topic aside and plan a climax. A very simple climax. For example, we say, in my climax, I'm going to win a competition. Okay, now let's say the topic that I have to write about is friendship. So I don't care what the topic is. I'm writing about I'm winning a competition. So how can I link that to friendship? Me and my friend won a competition. So you write exactly the same thing. You just add in another character. Now it's you and your friend. Or you can put a negative spin on it and say, you wrote in for the competition, but your friend copied your thing and then she won instead of you, but she wrote in with your whatever, your poem or your story. She won and now you're not friends anymore. So it doesn't really matter what the topic is. Think about a climax. That's where you start. So practice a couple of climaxes. Let's say we've got, you won something. You lost something. Think about very simple things that happens in daily life. Someone died. A baby was born. You got a surprise. Oops. Surprise birthday party. Surprise gift. Whatever. Someone who was sick got better. You moved house. No, that's a little boring. Let's rather say, what did you find in the new house? So moving is the whatever in the story, And what did you find in your new house? That is the climax. Okay. So think about a couple of things that you can make a climax of, and then take some random essay topics and see how can I fit that to my climax. You can also practice writing characters. So we need an interesting character. We need a well-rounded character with an interesting backstory. So go plan that character. In every single essay you have to write, there must be a character. So let's take Jill. Jill is your go-to character. Describe Jill. Write a personality for Jill. Write what she likes, what she doesn't like. And then practice writing a couple of random essays about random topics, or a day in the life, or describing her room, or describing her birthday party, whatever. Plan who Jill is, so that whenever you are writing your essay, you can go, oh, the topic is friendship. Let me write about Jill and her friend. Let me write about Jill and her friend in a surprise party. Jill and her friend finds a secret door in their new house. They find a skeleton in their new house. Whatever. Jill's friend was sick and then she got better. They thought she was gonna die, but surprise, climax, she got better. So think about a couple of climaxes. Think about a character, and then how do you bring those two together? Again, specifically in second language, plan your character beforehand. Plan vocabulary for Jill. Describe Jill in Afrikaans. Go learn the vocabulary that describes her, so that when you come to your exam, you've written about Jill 10,000 times. You know Jill's vocabulary. If you're writing in your second language, let's say you're terrible at Afrikaans, and then pick 2. There we go. We pick those 2. And every single essay that I am ever going to write in my entire life, or this year until I get bored of it, is about Jill winning something and Jill losing something. That's my climax. In every single story I'm going to write, that is my climax. In every single story I'm going to write, my character is Jill. Then you look at the topic they give you and say, how can I make this topic into Jill winning something? Or how can I take this topic into Jill losing something? It can be losing a competition, losing her favorite whatever, losing a friend, whatever. Go learn the vocabulary for that. Go practice the parts of speech for that. The figures of speech, I keep saying parts of speech. Go practice the figures of speech for that, so that when you come to your exam, you have vocabulary at your fingertips. Right, just a quick other note, just write linear, please. Don't skip around between times and places, and you're not writing a fantasy novel, you're writing a short story. It has to be short, it has to be to the point, and you can't skip around between places and times. You want it to be linear and simple. And then you must have a proper ending. You can't write to be continued. You're going to lose a lot of marks. It is so disappointing when you read this awesome story and then it goes, to be continued. Because you know what that tells me? I didn't know what more to write. Or, oops, I ran out of time. Plan your story so that you've got enough time to write it and so that you've got a good ending. Okay, then as I said, don't write formal. For second language, I've discussed that many times. So I've elaborated on that quite a bit. Practice. Writing an essay, you don't say, I'm not going to study for this exam because it's easy. You don't say, I'm not going to study for this exam because I don't know what the topic is. Go practice things that can go with any topic. All right, that's it.